All right, everyone, welcome back to TNT Digital Mindset. Today, we're cutting through the noise and zeroing in on the digital trends that actually matter. I've leveraged advanced AI to distill the latest research into clear, actionable insights, so we can focus on strategy, not fluff. Let's get started.
You know, storytelling is basically a superpower. It can make an idea land, it can hook an audience, and it can turn a really simple point into something people never forget. But there's one huge mistake that almost everyone makes, and it turns potentially great stories into, well, forgettable ones. So let's break down what that mistake is, and more importantly, how you can fix it.
Think about it for a second. Why does some stories just pull you in, while others have you kind of zoning out, maybe checking your phone? The difference isn't usually the story itself, you know? It's not about having some wild, epic adventure to share. The real difference comes down to one single fundamental technique. And here it is. This is the core idea. The common mistake is that we summarize events. We just report on what happened. It's logical, sure, but it's often really boring. The powerful technique, on the other hand, is zooming into a specific moment. You stop reporting and you start making the audience feel it. And that's the whole game, shifting from a logical summary to an emotional, memorable experience.
Okay, let's look at a perfect, super quick example of this from the actor John Krasinski. So he's telling a story about going through airport customs. Now, he could have just summarized it, right? He could have said, the agent was really surprised that I was married to Emily Blunt. But he doesn't do that. Instead, he zooms right in. He uses the customs agent's exact words. You can almost hear the pause, right? The disbelief in his voice. You married Emily Blunt? That direct dialogue makes the moment feel real, like it's happening right now. You're not just being told about the agent's surprise. You're right there experiencing it with them. Now that is the power of zooming in. So the good news is, this ability to zoom in isn't some special talent that only a few people have. Nope. It's a system. It's a repeatable, 5-part method that you can use to make literally any story more captivating. And here's the system. It's built on just 5 core elements: location, actions, thoughts, emotions, and dialogue. Just think of these as 5 levers you can pull at any time to bring a moment to life. This is our entire roadmap for execution. Simple, right?
Okay, so now we're going to break down each of these 5 elements one by one. We'll look at exactly how to use them to transform your stories from these forgettable summaries into experiences people actually remember. First up, location. This one's so easy. Just say where you are. I'm sitting on my couch, or I'm standing in line at the coffee shop. The second you do that, your audience starts building a little movie set in their head. You don't need a ton of detail. You just need to give them that one anchor. Next up, actions. What are you physically doing in the story? Use specific verbs. I open my laptop. I lean against the wall. Using these specific actions creates forward momentum. It tells the listener, okay, we're moving, we're getting right into the good stuff.
Now, for what might be the most powerful tool in the whole system, thoughts. You have to share what was actually going through your head at that moment. Give us the raw, unfiltered internal monologue. This is where you build a massive amount of connection because it's so real and relatable. And here's what that looks like in practice. Don't just summarize your feeling by saying, I was very disappointed. Instead, share the actual thought. I thought, oh man, this is bad. Everyone is going to think I'm stupid. See the difference? One is telling, the other is sharing, and it feels so much more real. Okay, 4th element, emotions. You've probably heard the old rule, show, don't tell. Well, this is where it really matters. Don't just name the emotion you were feeling. Describe what that emotion physically looked like. What was it doing to your body? So for example, instead of just saying, I was relieved, which isn't very visual, describe the action. In that moment, I leaned backward and let out a big sigh. Suddenly, we can all see the relief. We can almost feel it ourselves. And finally, we have dialogue. Just like we saw with the John Krasinski story, quoting the exact words someone said is maybe the easiest and most effective way to make a story feel immediate and alive. It literally brings the other characters right into the room with you. All right, so we've got the 5 elements. We know what they are. Now let's see how this whole system works in the real world. We're going to deconstruct a quick story from the entrepreneur Sarah Willingham to see how she masterfully weaves all 5 of these together. Her story kicks off with this incredible punchy line of dialogue. She walks into a big, important meeting
And a lawyer on the other side of the table looks up at her and, just assuming she's there to serve drinks, says, "Mine's white with 1 sugar, please." Talk about an instant hook.
So let's break this down. First, she gives us the location, a meeting room. Then, bam, we get that killer dialogue. Then she describes her actions. She calmly walks around, makes him the coffee, and sits right back down opposite him. Then she shows us his emotion. I watched the color drain from his face. And finally, she shares her internal thought, realizing in that moment that this guy's misjudgment was actually her superpower. You see, all 5 elements are woven together perfectly. It's a beautiful piece of execution.
So you've got the system. You've seen it in action. Now for the most important part. How do you actually apply this right now without it feeling like some big, complicated thing you have to remember?
Here is your single, simple takeaway. Don't try to use all 5 elements your first time out. Just for the very next story you tell, whether it's today or tomorrow, just pick one. That's it. Consciously add 1 line of dialogue, or describe 1 physical action that shows an emotion, or just state your location. Just 1. That's how you start to build the habit.
If you're into systems and frameworks like this one, practical tools to improve how you communicate and think, make sure you subscribe to TNT Digital Mindset. We're all about giving you the signal, not the noise. Thanks for watching.